Thanks, Liam, for the introduction. Really good. Awesome. All right. So what I've done now is just share my screen. Hopefully everyone can see that from their end. You should hopefully see the Squadi symbol and a PowerPoint on your screen. What we're going to do this evening is we are going to break down this session by workflow. And what I mean by that is we will be walking through each of these steps and these agenda items, which I'll highlight now. So just for everyone's context, just to go through the agenda and what we'll be going through this evening. And as part of that, I will be sharing my mobile phone. So it is a mobile solution. It is mobile first, and it is through the Squadi app. So I will walk through the process of what that app looks like, obviously how to download that app, sign in, and all that process in terms of setting yourself up. After that, we'll go through the process of making yourself either available or unavailable. So that would be putting in your availabilities as a user. So how to place in your availability as a referee. Then we'll walk through the process of accepting and receiving appointments. So that's in the process of saying yes or no, or accepting or declining, however you'd like to put it. Those appointments that have been put to you as a referee for each of the matches. And then what we'll go through is we'll spend a fair bit of time, and this is the largest workflow. It is going through the match day duties. So as part of that workflow, we'll go through the process for match day, and that's before and after match day. So that's reviewing the team lists. So that will be before the match, having visibility of both those team lists. So that's team A and team B. Then going through the process of entering the scores, any disciplinary actions, as well as any substitutions, if they are applicable to that competition. And then lastly, going through the process of submitting send-off reports, as well as where to place in an incident report if there is an incident that occurs, and then any other additional items as well. So, and then what we'll do is we'll wrap up some questions. With each of these workflows, I will complete them, and then I will pause them, and we'll go through any questions just to make sure that we do stay on top of them. So if you do have any questions, as Liam mentioned, please place them in the chat, and we've got Gavin and Liam and the Northern New South Wales team running over those questions. So what I'll do is I'll stop sharing my computer screen, and I'll just transition over to my phone screen or mobile. So bear with me as I transition. Awesome. So that should have kicked in now. So hopefully everyone can see now my mobile screen. So as mentioned before, this is a mobile first solution. It is all done through the Squadi app. The Squadi app is spelled Squadi, and that is found on both the Google Play Store as well as the Apple iOS store as well. So what you do is you need to download the app. If you haven't already, you will just go to your respective, so if you're on an Android or for an Apple iPhone, to download the Squadi app. Now, once you've downloaded the Squadi app, you obviously see that it's downloaded and it will appear on your phone. What we'll go through now is actually entering the app for the first time. So that's you jumping in. So you've downloaded the app from the store. Now it is a free app, so no one's paying for anything. Just to make note of that, because sometimes people do think that you have to pay. Once you've got the app, you do select, and now it is the purple looking app that you're going to see on the bottom left hand of my screen here. And this is essentially the home and the default screen as you sign into the app. This is the screen that you'll be landed on. Now, it's worth noting that Squadi is integrated with Play Football. So Play Football being the registration, the national registration system that is governed and owned by Football Australia. So you as a referee should have already done your registration within Play Football. If not, you can do your registration there pending open and close dates. But if you've done a registration already as a referee, your data would have already been pushed across into Squadi, and your profile essentially would have already been populated as part of that process. So as part of that process, that would have automatically created an account for you. And by that, you should have already received, if not already, received a temporary password to sign in with your login details. Now, if you haven't, please do check your spam account and all that. If not, no concern. As part of that process, when you download the app, you need to be signing in, and you'll go to log back in. So there's no need to create a new account because one would have already been created for you. Now, once you've selected log back in, you will see that obviously I've got some details here at the moment that have already defaulted in my screen. If you don't know your password, which is obviously going to be the instance for a lot of people, what you'll do is you'll select forget password, forget/reset password on the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. It will then give you the option to how you'd like to reset your password. So most commonly people do use email. And what you'll do is you'll press next. And then you'll simply place in your email to reset the password. As part of that process, that will trigger an email to yourself and that email for you to sign in, and you'll be able to create a new password. So once you've created that new password through the email, what you'll do is you'll select the link, or you can just come back into the app and you'll place in your email and that password that you've just set up for yourself to sign in. So what I'll do now is I will sign in myself. So I'm going to place in my email as you would do when you're signing in. Ooh. Sorry, bear with me. I'll just reshare my screen. That's cut out. Now, once you place in your details, you do have the opportunity to remember password. Now, this is really going to only be done once. So once you sign into the app, there's no need to sign in and out. You will just remain signed in, but you do have the opportunity to sign out in the future if you'd like to. So what we're going to do now is we place in our email address and our password to sign into the account, checked our password, and then we're going to press done to sign into the account. Now, as you sign into the account, this will be the default and the home screen. So as you sign in, so you put in your email, you put in your password, this is the first screen that you will see. As part of this, you will see that on the left-hand corner, you are on the home screen. Now, how you know that you're signed in is that you will see a name in the top left-hand corner. If you're not seeing any name in the top left-hand corner, that means you haven't signed into the app yet. It just means you haven't signed in, because we do have the ability for people to view draws and fixtures without actually signing into an account. So once you've signed in, you'll see a name in the top left-hand corner. Now, it's worth noting, if you're not seeing your name there, you may be seeing your child's name. That's okay, because you'd be sharing, for example, you may be sharing the account or email address with your child or another member. That simply just means you need to link yourself to the account, which I will go through the process in doing so. So if once you sign in, you're not seeing your name, but you're seeing maybe your child's name, I will go through that process to show you how you would link your account. But when you sign in, this is the home and the default screen. Now, you will see here this is what we call our match cards and our screen. Now, you can see here at the moment that there is some information that's sitting up the top, and this is what we call our public news feed. So this is any news that's been populated or generated by competition owners or organizations, and is purely just an information piece. So any key information or notifications, because you may receive updates in terms of any upcoming events or anything like that, there's the opportunity for this information to be put up top here that will populate, for example, by the competition owner. Underneath that, you will see that you've got the ability to add a team. Now, you can have the option to add a team if required, but what I will show you is once you receive an appointment, your appointment will receive on this screen, you'll receive a notification, and I'll go through that process shortly of what that looks like. So once you've signed in, what we'll now go through is the process of making yourself available or unavailable. So in other words, doing your availabilities. To do that, what we're going to do is select the bottom right-hand corner. So we're going to select the three dots that say more in the bottom right-hand corner. As you've selected that, you will now see referee availability as part of that process. Now, if you're not seeing referee availability there, that simply means that you may, have not been signed the referee role yet. So that would just simply mean that you need to reach out to Northern New South Wales to get that role added. Or if you're seeing someone else's name there, that simply means that you just need to link that individual to your account, because essentially you're on your child and you're not actually on your own profile, or vice versa, that has the referee role assigned. So once you've seen your referee availability there, you do select referee availability, and that will populate a fixture grid and a grid of your availability that you've placed in. Now, by default, this will all be marked green. So meaning green indicating that you are available for those days and those times. You can see on the left-hand side, that's running vertical, the times, and then you can see up the top, horizontal, the days or the dates that are running across there. As mentioned, it will all default to available to begin with. Now, as part of the process to mark your place as unavailable, because that's what you'll be doing, so it will be all available to begin with. So to place in your unavailable times, you have the option to select those dates. Now, it will default to a week at a time. Now, it will default that you can't go back in time. So we can see here that we've defaulted automatically to this week. But for the purposes of this demo, I'm going to select next week. So what that will mean is if I select a day next week, so let's say I select the 26th, it will then bring up the whole week that's included within the 26. And you can see here that I haven't done any unavailabilities yet. So as part of that process, for example, that I'm going to mark myself unavailable. To do that process, what you do is you do select the grid. Now, you can either hold your finger on there and drag. Now, once you do that, you will see that it will highlight red. Highlight red meaning that and indicating that you are unavailable for appointments during that period. So for the purpose of this demo, I'm going to mark that I'm unavailable from 9:30, for example, to 12:30. Because I may have a commitment. And then, for example, on another day, I'll mark my availability, I'll mark my unavailability and make myself unavailable from 9:30 to 10 a.m., for example, on that day being the 27th. So once you've marked in your availabilities on the grid, you do need to save. So that is pressing the save button that's up the top there, that's in white writing and that's got purple background. Once you press save, you will receive a return message saying schedule successfully updated. And then that means that your availabilities have now been placed in, and that will be received by the competition owner and will be taken into consideration when they're doing their appointments for the weekend or weekdays. If we jump back weeks, for example, so if I go back to this week and then I go back to next week, you can see that those availabilities, obviously, that I placed in have saved because I pressed the save button and that they will remain there. You do have the opportunity to change that. So, for example, if you wanted to go back in and that commitment had fallen through, so you want to make yourself back available, what you can do is you do just place your finger back over and then mark yourself back as green, indicating that you're available. So you can make that change back at any time. And then what you'll do is you'll select save as part of that process to make sure that that has been saved in there as part of that. So what I'll do there, Gavin and Liam, we'll just pause and make sure we've covered any questions that may have come through in the meantime.
Yep, sure. Thanks a lot. So yeah, it's Gavin here. So just a quick question, maybe Liam, if you want to answer this one. Do first year referees use Squadi?
So they won't need to do it for team sheets, but we will be using that as our fixtures around there for appointments. So they will need to put their unavailability into Squadi to make sure they still get their appointments. Am I correct on that one, Connor? Yeah, cool.
Perfect, thank you. And then just to, sorry, go on.
Yeah, so with first years, obviously starting on JDL as we have been, but still have the potential to be on PYL as assistant referees for now, and then in the centres as we move forward. So yeah, keep unavailability on Squadi.
Great stuff. Thanks. I think those are the only those are the questions that we've got at this point.
Awesome. I'll take that as a positive that not many who have come through at the moment. So what we'll do now is we'll go through the process, and I just want to highlight now, just in continuation of what I was mentioning in how to link an account. It is worth noting because, as Liam mentioned, some may be signing in, not seeing their name, seeing their child's name. So just go through that process of how you link an account. So you've signed in, for example, and you may be seeing your child's name or another name there. To complete this process, in the bottom right-hand corner, you're going to select More. So that's where we found referee availability. The next option that you'll be selecting as part of this process, you'll see up the top there that it says My Profile. So you'll select My Profile, and then you'll see an option that says My Full Profile. Now, this will bring up the profile of the account that you're automatically signed into. It is worth noting that it will pop up, and you would have seen that then very quickly, which I removed to put in your bank account details now. So payments are staying the same with Northern New South Wales process as per usual process. So there is no need to put in your bank account details there, but that will be a pop-up that does appear. So you do not need to fill that out. Now, what you'll see as part of this profile is the name that obviously appears. Now, to link your account, so this name may be your child's name, it may be your name, vice versa. So if it's your child's name, you want to link yourself, or if it's, for example, your name, you want to link your child. To do that, on the right-hand side, you select the 3 little dots that sit next to activity, and then you'll see the option, second from the top, it says personal details. You'll then see as part of this page, you'll see that there's 2 options that appear here. There's the top one being add parent / guardian, or there's the second option, add child / family member. So depending on the situation and who you're wanting to link, so it may be, as mentioned, you may want to link a child. You would simply select add child, or vice versa for the parent. And in doing so, you will see some text boxes that appear, and to add in those details and to fill in those details in order to add them. So you'd add in their first name, their last name, their date of birth, their contact number, and then their email address, as well as their address as well. And then in doing so that, what you'll do is you'll select save. And as part of that process, that will then link the individual onto your account. So therefore, you'd have the ability to toggle between yourself and that child or that other member that you've linked into your account. As part of that process, when you go back to the More screen, you will see up the top, there will be a selection that says switch profile. And then from there, you can toggle between yourself or that other member that's been linked into the account. Awesome. All right. So what we'll do now is we'll go through the process of accepting appointments or declining appointments. So yes or no. So as mentioned before, when you do first sign in, you will see that there's a screen here that says add a team. That is simply if you're wanting to add a team to follow them as a spectator. So you may be interested in terms of following that team for whatever reason it may be to keep up to date with their fixtures or details. Now, as this is a mobile first solution, if you are appointed to a match and you've got your push notifications on, you will receive a push notification as part of every time that you are appointed. Or if the actual match itself, for example, has changed times or details, you also receive a push notification. So if the time's been changed, etc., you will receive a push notification instantly as that's change has been made by the competition owner. So as mentioned, once you sign in, you more than likely will not see any match cards here because you just simply have not been appointed yet. As you are appointed, you will see that there will be some match cards that will appear, which I'll populate now. Awesome. So what you can see here now is you've received a couple of appointments. Now, as mentioned, you will receive a push notification on this, right? So if you are appointed to a match, you will receive a notification saying that you've been appointed to match between Team A and Team B on this date and this time. And in doing so, you would go into the app, you'd go to your home screen, and you would see your cards populate on your schedule. So in doing so, you will see that the card will appear here. It will have the details as part of this process. So if we take the one down the bottom, for example, there's a match that's at 8:10 p.m. tonight. You do have the ability to accept or decline that match. So in doing that process, you will see that there's 2 options that appear on that match card, that referee match card, and that being yes or no. So in doing so, what you'll do is you'll either select yes. So yes, meaning that you are accepting the match. So for the purpose of this example, I'm going to select yes. You do also obviously have the option to select no. Now, in this instance, depending on the restrictions or cutoff times that may be put in place by the comp organizer, for example, there may be some restrictions that they don't want people to decline the match, for example, an hour out or etc., whatever it may be. If they do select no within that actual parameters, you will receive a pop-up saying, please contact. There may be a name, there may be an email here, there may be a phone number, etc., depending on what's being put in place. And as part of that, you just need to go through and contact that individual for any changes required because you no longer can make that commitment. Now, once you've selected yes, for example, is in accepting the appointment, that will be notified to the competition owner that you've accepted that appointment. It's also worth noting, as part of this card and what we call referee card, you can see details here. So that's the details of the match. So being on the 20th of April, it's starting at 8:10 p.m. at night. It also outlines that you are refereeing. So it says that you're refereeing. Now, it's also worth noting as well, if you are an AR1, AR2, or another role such as a fourth official outside of just the main referee, that will also populate here as the details. So you can see here on my screen that I've got 2 appointments. I've had one for 6:15 p.m. tonight, so the match is actually being played at the moment. And then I've got another one that for the match that starts at 8:10 p.m., so afterwards. So you can see that I am refereeing. I am the main referee. If you are the AR1, the AR2, or the fourth official, or any other role, that will also populate and inform you what that specific role is. You can also see the team details. If they're put in their logos, you will see their logos appear as well. And then you'll see the competition that is actually being played as part of. And then you will see the address or the actual location, and you can view that field. So you can see that it says NFO as part of that process. If you select NFO, it will open up and expand. So this expands and shows you the specific venue name and also the actual address of that venue. Now, you do have the opportunity as part of this to map this. So map would take you to Google Maps. And as part of that process, it would display on Google Maps the specific location of that venue. So you can actually pinpoint and place that into your Google Maps if you're needing to understand where the specific location it is. As part of this, you can also see the full details of the match. So what we'll do now is we will go into the match card. So for example, we'll go into a match card previous before it started. So as you select the match card, you will see that you have visibility of a couple of different options here. So once again, you've got the details that remain up the top of the screen. And then you will see that there's a couple of options. Now, the first one being team sheet. So team sheets is visibility of the team sheets. So that's the team sheets that both team A and team B have submitted as part of their pre-match process. You will see that there's the opportunity to see game referees. Game referees is actually visibility of who you're appointed with and their contact details if you are required to contact the other fellow referees that you may be appointed with. You will see that there's the referee incident report. So that's simply just placing in an incident report as part of that process if any incidents do occur. And then you'll see that there's the field, so the location once again as part of that. And then down the bottom, you'll see verify action log. Now you'll see that verify action log is actually grayed out, and the reason being is because the match is simply just not started yet. So you do not have access to obviously put in any scores as the match is not started. What we'll do is we will jump back into the match that has started. And as part of this process, we'll go through what you can see as the match has started or pre-match. So the first one being the team sheets, right? So if we do select the team sheet tab, that will open up both team sheets that have been placed in by both team A and team B. You will see up the top of the screen, you've got the ability to switch between team 1 and team 2 as part of that process. If we take team 1, for example, you can see their team sheet. It's worth noting as part of this team sheet, there's a couple of different subheadings that's worth noting. So in the instance that it's substitution, you will see the subheading playing as well as interchange, you will see that. But as part of that, you will see all the individuals that have been selected as playing and in the starting lineup. So under playing, we can see the 11 that have been submitted by the actual coach or the manager that's been completing the team sheet by team A. So we can see the 11 players, as well as we can see those that are not playing as well. Now, you as the referee have the ability to override any changes on the team sheet. And what that means is if there's been a mistake that's been made by team A or team B, and it's been locked because there is locking processes in place depending on what's set by the competition owner. If it's 5 minutes before the match and the team sheets have been locked for whatever reason, because that's how it's been set, you have the ability to make any overriding changes as part of that process. Now, it's also worth noting as part of this team sheet, you can see obviously their profile photo. Now, we are in a test environment, so you can see that there's some test data that sits within here. To see their photo or enlarge their photo on the left-hand side, if we select Jack, for example, and the photo next to Jack, it will enlarge the photo and bring up the photo of that individual. You will see as part of that pop-up, the first name, the last name appear, as well as the FFA number, as well as the actual date of birth of that individual as well. And once again, that is for both teams that you've got visibility across. Now, for example, you can see that this is a team sheet that's been submitted by team 1. If there's any changes for whatever reason that need to be made because there might have been a mistake, or for example, in this instance, they actually haven't put anyone on the bench. So what I'm going to do is make that change by selecting the individual, and I'll show you how to do that now. So as part of that process, to take anyone off, for example, and change anyone in the 11, what you do is you simply just deselect that individual. So if we deselect Charlie, that will then deselect him, and then that will place him in the not playing area. And then if we're to select Frank, for example, because you're with the coach or the manager of the team and they're wanting changes made to the team sheet, you do just select, for example, if we're going to bring Hank on, we'll select Hank. Now, it will prompt you to select a position. That's because that's part of the team sheet process for the manager. And just remembering that you're doing this because it's a last minute change. So you'll need to understand, and you'll be with the manager, and then you'll select that position, and then that change will be applied and place them under playing. What we'll do as well is we'll add a couple of individuals on the bench here as well, because I forgot to put people on the bench as part of this process.
While you're doing that, Jalen, just to let everyone know, the vast majority of our games won't have you having to select their position. That's only going to be for first grade. So everyone else will, you won't have, if it's not a substitution, as in an on-off substitution type of competition, which is basically all of our youth, isn't that? Then all of those youth games will simply be interchange, and you don't have to select that. And I'm just gonna I've got the floor at the moment. Kevin just put a question in that I was about to talk about. Team officials are not on the team sheet at this point. They are coming, but the team officials aren't on there at this point just now. So just a reminder that they've got to have their passes to be in the technical leader. And if there's any instance, we can go through an instant report to report any yellow or red cards.
Awesome, good call out. So what we'll see here is the team sheets that we've gone through, allowing you the ability, obviously, to manipulate the team sheet. So any overriding changes that you need to make. Now, it's also worth noting, as part of this team sheet, and this is the same view that the managers do get, they have the ability to add in a borrowed player. So as part of that process, if they're borrowing a player, what they are doing is they're selecting on their team sheet, add player, and then they're searching for that player. That player may be playing up, for example, for whatever reason, or maybe from a competition that's actually within that same club. For example, they may be borrowing with. This is the process that they go through to add that player in, and the system has the capability to actually track borrowed players if required, as well as monitor how many times they may have been borrowed throughout the season. So what we'll go through next is the game referees tab. So the game referee tab does actually highlight the individuals that you are assigned with. So what you can see here is that, for example, I'm Jay referee up the top. You can see the other referees that you are actually appointed with. So for example, we can see the AR1, the AR2. Now we are also running through a development shortly as well, where we will be adding the referees' photos that will sit next to here is part of the thing, and also highlighting the numbers as well. So if you're needing to contact the other individual, you can simply select the number and then call that other referee if they're running late, etc., as part of the process. The next one is reporting an incident. Now, as Liam just mentioned, if you need to report an incident for whatever reason it may be, you do have the ability to report an incident through the Report Incident tab. To do so, you do select Report Incident, and then you'll have a variety of reports that will appear. So there may be a general report, maybe discipline-related, ambulance, first aid, etc. Now, it is worth noting that we will be going through the send-off report. The send-off report is automated once you place in a red card. So there's no need to complete your send-off report here. If it's applicable to a player, that's automated as we will add in a red card or a yellow card, etc. In the instance that someone has been sent off. Now, as mentioned as well, you also have the ability here as well to view the pitch. So what we'll do now is we'll just pause, just conscious that we have been through a lot already, and we're about to go through now the process of placing in scores, or any goals, as I should say, placing in substitutions if applicable, as well as any red or yellow cards. Just want to pause, Gavin and Liam, and make sure we've covered any questions that may have come through.
No worries. Look, I'm going to acknowledge a question from Julie that I think we can probably maybe have a look at the end, just around the sharing profiles and adding and removing. I think we can do that at the end, but Julie, we haven't forgotten that one. Most other questions have been answered within the chat, and we're having a look at the PYL girls at the moment, because it appears they need to have positions selected. So I'm just going to double check that to make sure we haven't set that up correctly, and we can make any changes we need to there, but we can check that tonight after the session.
Yeah, perfect. All right, so what we'll go through now is the process of placing in scores, substitutions. I've said it again, scores, I mean goals, substitutions, and yellow and red cards. So as part of that process, you will see down the bottom of the screen, the most important process that you'll need to complete is verify the scores. As part of that, you'll see verify action log. Now, if we do jump back to the home screen, it's worth noting that if you haven't completed this card, it will remain on your home screen. So until you complete this match card, so that is placing in any goals, if applicable, etc., you need to complete that process. If you haven't, the card will remain on the home screen until that has been submitted. You can see here that I've got a fat little reminder saying verify action log. That's simply meaning that I haven't completed the card. So to complete the process, what we'll do is we will select that card, and down the bottom, we will select verify action log. Now, as part of this process, now bear with me, there is a couple of subs that have already been made during the process. What you'll see is you'll have the ability to go timeline. So up here, you can see that there's the plus button. You will see obviously the scores, etc., as part of this process as well. So in doing so, to place in either a goal, a substitution, or whether it may be a yellow or red card, as part of this process, you do need to select the plus button. As you select the plus button, it will bring up a variety of options. And the first one we'll go through is the process of submitting a goal as a referee. So the first option that it will ask you is which team that this action applies to. So we're going to do a goal. We're going to do a goal to team 1, for example. So we are going to select team 1. The next question it will ask you is the type. So the type being whether it was a goal, whether it was a disciplinary matter, such as a yellow or red card, or if it's a substitution, if applicable. So we're going to select goal. The next option we will select as part of this process will be the type. So you will see that there's a couple of different options here. So that may be a normal goal, so an in-play field goal. For example, it may be a penalty or it may be an own goal. So for the purpose of this demonstration, we will do a normal goal. And then we'll ask you for the period. So the period being whether it's the first or the second half that the goal occurred. So for the purpose of this demo, we're going to do period 1. It will then ask you for the match time. So now we've selected period 1. So you will see that for example, we're going to select within the first 45 minutes as part of this process. So we're going to do a goal on, for example, the 26th minute. It will then ask you, for example, any added time. So if you are in the instance that there is an added time, for example, you do have the ability to apply that as well, but we're not going to do that for this example. We're just going to do a goal on the 26th minute. Now, once you've completed those details, so you've selected the team, the type, so we're doing a goal, and then we're going to do the type of goal, and then the period, and then the time. Down the bottom, you will press next. That next button will then take you to the players based on what we saw earlier. So if you remember the team sheet that we went through, you will see the list of those players that are part of the team sheet. And as part of the process, you do need to mark the individual that has scored the goal. So for example, we're going to put a goal to Tom Bolts, who's wearing jersey 505. We're going to select a goal. So to do that, you do select the button that says goal, and then that will highlight in blue, indicating that it's been selected. Now, it's worth noting that you do have the ability to create or add in assist. So if there's an assist, that is not mandated. So if you don't want to record an assist, that's absolutely fine. And you haven't marked that, you do not have to touch the assist. It's not mandated as part of that process. Now, what you can see here is once you've completed that process, so we've done Tom Bolt, done a goal. We're not going to bother with the assist. That's fine. And we'll go through the process now of submitting that. So we'll select done. Now, what that will do is that will populate that action onto the timeline. So you can see here now on my screen as part of that process, you will see that that goal to Tom Bolt has been added onto the timeline. Now, if you've made a mistake, so for example, you've accidentally added in, for example, Tom Bolt, he actually wasn't the scorer, or for example, it actually wasn't a goal, and you made a mistake, you have the ability to edit that. So to edit that, you do select the actions. So if you select where it says on the left-hand side, goal to Tom Bolt, as you select that, it will open up and give you the opportunity to edit that actual action that you've just populated onto the timeline. So for example, we've gone through the process of now wanting to change that because we actually discovered and realized that the goal was scored in the 36th minute. We made a mistake, so we're going to edit the 36th minute. And then we're going to make sure that it's the correct player. We've said, no, it's actually Jill that scored the goal. So we're going to flick that to Jill, and then we're going to select done. So you will see that those details will now populate and update. So now say goal to the 36th minute to Jill James. You've also got the ability not only as editing, but you can delete that action as well. So to delete that action, you can see in the top right-hand corner, the bin option in the top right-hand corner. In doing so, as you select that, that will delete that action from the timeline. Now what we'll do is we'll go through the process of adding in a foul, for example, or disciplinary actions such as yellow or red card. So it is the same procedure. You'll start to see the patterns develop here, that it is the same process. So once again, it's going to ask you for the team. So this time we're going to do a yellow card to team 2. And what we're going to do is we're going to do the type. So we're going to select foul. And then as part of that process, it will bring up a list of all the actual disciplinary codes, particularly obviously yellow and red card, as well as Y1 to Y7, as well as R1 to R8. Now, it is worth noting that some may not remember or take note of what exactly a Y2 or Y3 is. We are going to be adding in the full details of what that will look like. So, for example, it will be describe the action that sits next to Y1, Y2, respectively. For the purpose of this example, we're just going to do a yellow card. You've also got temporary dismissal if that's applicable as well within the comp. And then what we'll do is we'll select yellow card. It will ask you again for the period that's occurred. So for this example, we're going to do in period 1 again. And we're actually going to do that there was a yellow card in the 6th minute. So it's worth noting that it doesn't have to be done in chronological order. You can actually skip back and forth. So for example, we're going to do a yellow card in the 6th minute. Same process once again. Once you've selected the options of that you've filled in, you'll press next. And then as doing this, what you'll see is that they'll have the option of selecting the player as part of this process that you need to complete it for. So we're going to select Pablo as a recipient of obviously the yellow card. And what we'll do is we'll select on the right-hand side, the tick box, and we'll select done. Now, once again, that will populate onto the home screen. So you can see here as part of this process that it does then add it to the timeline. So you'll see yellow card to Pablo that we've just placed in. Once again, if you want to make any changes, absolutely fine. You do select that action. As you select that action, it will open up and then give you the opportunity of what you've just placed in. So changing any of those times or those details or actually removing it, for example. So for the purpose of this example, we're actually going to remove the yellow card because it was a mistake what I just put in. So I'm going to select the can button, and then that will actually remove the yellow card. As part of this, as mentioned as well, you've got the ability to change that. Now, what we'll do now is the action of adding in a substitution. So to do so, it is the same workflow and the pattern. So this time we're going to select a substitution for team 2, providing that substitution is applicable to your competition. You're going to select update substitution / lineup. And then once again, select the minute that this is part of. So we'll select period 2. Once again, select the match minute that this has occurred. So we're going to select the match minute of the 68th minute that this occurred. And then we'll select next. Now, as part of this process, it will bring up that team sheet. So that team sheet being what you saw earlier, that's been completed by both individuals. Now, you've got the ability here as part of this team sheet to go through and make any adjustments to who has come off and on at the same time. Now, there may be multiple individuals that during this process that you want to make changes to. That's absolutely fine as part of that process. So if we're going to take, for example, we're going to take Spencer off. To take Spencer off, what you'll need to do is you can see under the subheading of playing, we're going to deselect Jack Sparrow, for example. As we deselect Jack Sparrow, he will then move onto bench, and then we're going to bring in, for example, Frank on. So as you select Frank, it will then put Frank into the list as playing. Now, as mentioned before, you can make changes to more than one individual at a time. It is the same process. So by deselecting the individual and then selecting the individual that's on the bench to bring them into the playing lineup. Once you've done that process and you've applied those that are coming off and then those that are coming on, you do want to press confirm. And then as part of that process, it will populate onto the timeline. So you will see here, for example, from the information we just put in, you'll see that it says out for Jack, and then it says in for Frank. Now, once we've placed in all of our actions on the timeline, for example, so we placed in yellow card, goals, and for example, any substitutions if applicable, the last one we want to do is a red card. Now, for example, if there is a red card, you'd do the same process as before. You'd select the plus button, you'd go through the process of doing a foul, you then select, for example, red card, and then you'd select the period and the match time as we've done previously as well. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to mark a red card because we know that by marking a red card that there's going to be a requirement to fill a send-off report. So what we'll do is we'll place a red card, for example, against John. Now, in doing so, that will populate onto timeline, as you can see. And then that will mean that when you complete this process, you will be required to complete a send-off report. So now that I've placed in everything that I need to place on, so being any cards, substitutions if applicable, and goals, the last step to verify and submit the scores is in the top right-hand corner, you need to select verify. So to do that, in the top right-hand corner, you select verify. Now, as you select verify, it will bring up a pop-up and a reminder just to make sure that you've placed in the correct score. So you can see here that it says, are you sure you want to confirm the scores of team 1 versus team 2? So you can see that I've set it as 1-0. It's just reminding me if that's the correct score. If you say yes, that will submit, and then that will remove the match card from your home screen, pending there is no send-off reports to be completed. If you press no, that's absolutely fine because you've discovered that you've missed a goal for whatever reason, or you want to make changes, you'll press no. You then have the ability to go back in and make any changes. So they will all store there. It does not reset. They all hold as part of the process and will stay and remain as part of there. So we want to go back in, for example, we may want to change the goal. Or for example, we may want to add in a goal. So we're actually going to make it 1-1. And we're going to apply a goal to Arthur. So we can see it's 1-1 now. So we've made those adjustments and we will press verify. You can now see that it says 1-1, that pop-up reminding you again, and then you'll select yes. As you select yes, that will submit the scores and has submitted the scores as part of the process to the competition organizer. Now you will see here that you will see a send-off report that now is populated and been triggered because we placed in a red card. Now it's worth noting that with the send-off report, if you don't want to complete it at that current time, that's absolutely fine. If you want to complete it later on that evening because you might have back-to-back games, that's absolutely fine. What you do is you select back and you will see on the home screen now that your card is now updated to say send-off report. So that's indicating that you've got a send-off report that you need to complete as part of the process. Now, it's worth noting as well that this card will not remove itself until that action's been completed. So what we'll do is we'll go in now and complete that action. So to complete the send-off report, we're going to select the card again, and that will take you straight to the send-off report for that red card, for that individual player that has been sent off. You will see here that there may be the option in the instance that there's more than one send-off report. That's absolutely fine. They will then list here in order of the send-offs. So for example, we're going to select send-off report for John Florence. And then that will bring up the send-off report. Now, it's also worth noting, we did go through this obviously last night. This send-off report will be updated. It will be updated with the familiar send-off report that you guys are all working through at the moment, through the form that you're using. That will be updated and pushed into the system within the next week or so as part of the process. At the moment, you can see that there is some differences to this send-off report. I think, Liam, if you wanted to touch on that.
Yeah, so essentially we've been working with Squadi to basically replicate your current send-off report. We feel that's a really good way of getting most information without having to contact you guys for any more. But that's just taking a little bit of time to get through that. The report in here covers a fair chunk of the detail that we need, and we'll make sure that when that updates, we'll let you know. But until then, you should be able to put all the information you really need into this one at this point, and we can contact you if there's anything missing.
Awesome. So look, as we'll go through this process, you will see that there's some minor differences. As mentioned, those questions applicable to Y1, Y2 that are very specific and capture those specific details, they will be added into this process. As you go through the send-off details report, you will see that a lot of this information is already populated, which is really great because we know which minute that the red card's been placed in, so you don't need to be placing in any of those details. We know the individual that it's been placed in against. We know their FFA number. We know all those details because you've marked it against the action log. So up the top, you will see that it has your first and your last name there, appear there, has your email address, has your mobile number. Now, it's worth noting this mobile number is only disclosed to the competition organizer. It's not visible to anyone else. So there's not going to be the players or the following teams that will see your mobile number. It's only visible to the competition organizer. As part of this, it'll say and outline the role of the individual. You can see that it's already populated the first and the last name there, and then it'll have the incident and the date time. So you can see that those details are already inputted in based on the details that were placed in the action log. You will then have the option currently at the moment, which this will be updated specifically with the actual offence that's occurred with that action, and then you'll see down the bottom the ability to add a photo if required. It's not mandated, but there is the option to add a photo or a video if you hold one. Now, you will notice that as part of this page, there is a couple of questions which are mandated. So if that is, it will bounce you back to fill that out. You will not have to fill out any of these details of the individual because they will be automatically populated as part of this process. It's just because we're in a test environment at the moment. Now, once we go to the next page, so being page 2, you will see that this is where the questions and the free text questions do lie. So there is a couple of broader questions that sit here at the moment. These being, where did the incident take place? Where were you in relation to the incident? Who was involved in the incident? What caused the incident to occur? What happened? And then did anything happen after the dismissal? So you can see that these are currently mandatory fields as part of the process. So you do need to input the details to these fields when completing the report as best as you can. Once you've done so, you will then be proceeded onto the last page, so step 3 of the incident report. And this will be the final step. So the ability to add in any witnesses. So if there was a witness, if you've got multiple witnesses, you can add in a witness as part of that process. So by selecting add witness, and then there's a last text box if there's any additional information that you do want to include. So now that we've completed the send-off report, to finalize that send-off report, now for integrity purposes, once this send-off report is sent, it's not adjustable by anyone else. Obviously, it's an integrity reason for the actual incident, and it is going to be hard marked against with no changes to be made. So what we'll do is we'll press submit, and then that will complete the process of submitting the send-off report. Now, you will notice that I'm back on the home screen now, and you will see that now that match card for that match is now cleared because I've completed my scoring. And as part of that process as well, I had a send-off report which I've completed. Therefore, that match card will now clear from my home screen. And then you can see my next match that appears there as part of the process. So that really completes all the workflows that we're going to go through tonight. So just as a reminder in terms of what we went through, so we signed into the Squadi app. So we signed in with our email address and our password. Now, if you're having trouble signing in, that's absolutely fine. We do advise you to reset your password as part of that process, and that will automatically trigger a reset password to your email to go through the process to place in a password. It is also worth noting that we are integrated with Play Football, so your information has been pushed across and created automatic accounts for you. So that's why you'll be resetting a password. We've then gone through the process of placing in our availability. So under the More section, under referee availability, and placing in when we are unavailable. We've then gone through the process of adding anyone into the account. So that might be adding in yourself or your child. So linking that individual in. And then we've gone through the process of accepting or declining appointments. So that's back on our home screen. So saying yes or no as you're appointed. You do receive notifications as well. So any changes to matches, that will come through. And then lastly, we went through the process of viewing the team sheet, other referees you're appointed with, an incident, and then we went through the process of completing the action log. So placing in any goals, substitutions, or any disciplinary matters such as yellow or red cards. All right, Liam and Gavin, I think we'll just open up for a couple of questions now to make sure we've answered any questions before we wrap up.
Yeah, look, not too many in the chat at the moment. I think most have been answered. So I might take this opportunity to just remind everyone. So there's already a recording of last night's up and available on the Squadi Hub on our website. This one will also go up there as well. So if at any point you want to just have a quick look before you go back out, or a quick look before you put in a send-off report, by all means jump on. There's a bunch of small videos there as well that will help you. A couple of other quick things, just when you're getting in touch with the referees team, as Brad's popped in there, please try and do that via email. There's poor Connor has been doubling up on the work. He's had to put all the appointments in Matchref to make sure everyone gets it, and then of course in Squadi to make sure everyone has access to the games as well. So and if anyone's looked out their window or been outside, you'll know that Connor's Friday is going to be shuffling and reshuffling and trying to make sure we get coverage on the probably 4 games that might happen this weekend. So it's going to be a bit of a hectic day. Couple of quick questions just coming on that. So Kevin asked, can we see the report once it's been sent in? No, you don't have that on your app, but we can access that from the website, and we can also provide that to you if there is a disciplinary hearing, so that you know what you've put in. When does the match card need to be submitted by? So at this point, I think for this weekend, we're going to put it to 15 minutes before the game to allow everyone a chance to get it. It will be longer for first grade. So in a couple of weeks' time, once everyone's got used to it, that'll probably be about half an hour for first grade. To make sure that media and the like can be on there. So for those doing first grade football, there may be more chance of someone coming in that last half an hour saying the left back's done a hammy or such and such has pulled up lame in that game. So another one is, are we able to sanction team officials? Thanks, Gavin, for answering that in the chat. But we will soon. That'll be in the next release. In the interim, if you send off a team official this weekend, then please use the old send-off report, which you also have access to. And if you have a yellow card, please use the instant report within the app is the best way to just pop that in, just a quick instant report to let us know that you've given a yellow card to the coach or assistant coach or the like. But hopefully that's just a short-term issue. As well. Quick one, Jalen, actually going to answer this one, mate. Are the players able to see the appointed referees so before the game, or is that?
Yep. So you can see, for example, isn't that who they're appointed with?
No, sorry, the players. So the public and players.
No, so currently no. The players cannot see it. Who can see it is the managers, the respective managers, and only the managers of the teams can see who the referees are.
Okay. No worries. All right. Well, look, Thank you. Is there a time limit the referee has to complete the result and cautions? Look, no, not on the app. There's not, but there's obviously rules about when we need to get it in, and the big part and best part of this system is the instant data being available for everyone involved in the game. So we would hope that most people get at least that stuff done within an hour of their matches. We understand if you've got a bunch of back-to-back matches and running late, that's fine, but try and get them in that kind of 60 to 90 minutes after your last match at the latest. Red card reports, again, yeah, if you want to hang them until you get home and may have cooled down after a tasty match, that's absolutely fine as well. So, Lewis has just asked us before we go, Jalen, sorry. Lewis has said, it looks to me you can only see the people you're appointed with if you're the actual referee and not the assistant. That's not the case, Gavin, no?
Correct. So, excuse me, assistants will also see, the main ref. So you'll see all, depending on who's appointed, and then, up to the 4 appointments being, 2 assistants, an assessor, and the ref.
Excellent. No worries. That might be just an issue we've got there. So, when will we see our appointments on Squadi this week? Connor is working through getting them all across and there, so your appointments for through Matchref, and it's now just a matter of making sure that you're in there by the time your match happens on the weekend. Has the app been tested at all grounds for connectivity? Look, no, we haven't been around at every ground and tested what the signal's there at the moment, but having been to most grounds in Premier Football, if not all, there's not many that I've not been able to get a phone signal at. Worst case scenario, you drive 5 minutes up the road after the game, or you do it when you get home and you pop them in, but I don't think that's going to be an issue for us referees.
Yeah, and just on that one, Liam, we've actually done a lot of work in that space. When there is weaker connectivity. So in the instant there is weaker connectivity, it will obviously signify that, and there will be a pop up. It is worth noting that the match card does actually remain on your phone until it's complete, right? So if you're putting in the scores, for example, you still have access to put in those scores. What won't work is when you try to press submit, it won't submit. It'll still hold everything. When you regain connectivity, it will then automatically submit as part of that process. So just worth noting that.
Brilliant. All right. Thank you very much, everyone. The Squadi Hub is available on the website. This video will be available on the website as will last night's. If you want to go in and have another look, plenty of help stuff on there and small videos that the guys at Squadi have put together for us. So that will be absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much for your time tonight, Jalen and Gavin. Thanks again to Connor and Brad as well. And look forward to getting this all kicked off this weekend. Thanks, guys.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.